Good afternoon. Afternoon, everybody. Making sure I'm coming through okay. Hope everybody is well. Ahmed, Tian, Parsa, Lam, Moses. Who else is here? Lam, Parsa. I hope you're all well. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Sorry I wasn't on Monday. There's something wrong with my internet. My internet went all messed up, so I couldn't stream. Basically, the connection wasn't good enough, which is why I'm only doing it in 720p today. So they're still trying to work on it for some reason. Typical. You know, you pay for this fancy internet and it doesn't always work. But, you know, I guess that's happens from time to time. Taking a break while I finish up the office job. Taking a rest, because after rest it's full time. There we go. The dream starts, Tian. The dream starts. Lamb, not good, losing money on a New Zealand trade. Yeah, New Zealand, I saw New Zealand yesterday. Now, I don't know whether you guys know more than me, but I couldn't see why this happened, right? We had this volatility spike. I was looking for news. I was looking for something. I don't know whether you guys have seen anything, but, you know, I didn't really understand the reason why that spiked so hard. So, anyway, unlucky, mate. I know, it happens from time to time again. So, let's start, shall we? Let's start with... I'll start with the dollar, because I think the dollar is interesting right now. Now, obviously I didn't do a stream on Monday, but what I did say on Monday was, even though this looked bearish, I just had that sneaky suspicion that this is going to push, right? I didn't expect the push to be as significant as we got on this particular bar, but I was looking at it when it, you know, technically here looked kind of bearish. And I thought, you know what, I just have a feeling, sneaky suspicion, that we're going to get that kind of opposite of what we think market, and it ends up pushing on. Now, what I think is interesting here as well is, if we look at the smaller time frames, and particularly this price action here, excuse me, and this price action here. The RB, did we? I was looking, I didn't see that, Arsa. Maybe I'm being stupid. I haven't actually. I've been so much. Oh, sorry. No, we didn't. Did we? Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right, mate. Sorry. Yeah, I've not really been in the markets, to be honest with you. I've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Anyway, you're right. So that's obviously the reason why. Anyway, I'll go into this. So this section and this section, right? If you're gonna guess, what are we seeing happening here and here? What do you think is happening to both buyers and potential sellers at this point? These two sections here. What do you think is happening? Because I have got an opinion, but let me know what you guys think. What does it kind of look like? Here we go. We'll make it. Let's do a little quiz. Anybody know? So we're getting. I mean, if you take the rough estimate of this corrective, right? The rough estimate is roughly around there. What do you think's happening on these wicks? What's happening here? What's happening here? Probably, you can probably see it better on smaller time frames, but what do you think is happening at these sections? What's getting trapped? Buyers and sellers, right? So you're probably getting buyers trapped in here, taking the breakout here, coming down. Getting sellers trapped in here, stops probably taken out, coming back up. Right, we're getting at the same point here. Trapped buyers, not ready to move yet. Getting the same point here. Trapped sellers, not get ready to move at. So I presume, in terms of retail, right, a lot of people's stops are being taken out at this point. Simply because, I mean, this was a little bit different. I would say price was ready to move at this point, but, you know, certainly here. Because the market, you look at the 4 hour, you know, price just wasn't ready to move. Yeah, you could say it's indecision. For me, it's you know, certain kind of stop hunts, right? It's not ready to move to the downside, not ready to move to the upside. Stops taken out, trapped sellers, probably stops taken out, trapped buyer, stops taken out. That for me is what it looks like, just right off the bat. So, I mean, you can say, like, we were here, and we were just not ready to move in either direction yet because the move has already happened, right? But what's interesting as well is if you put a simple fib on it from this area here, it's just bang on smack that 50%, which we kind of did thought. We thought that last week. We get to roughly around that 50% mark. We didn't think this would happen, or I didn't think this would happen, but it's happened, and we've recovered now. So, and if you look at the Euro USD, right, the Euro USD also likes a 50. That's one of the market characteristics of the Euro USD. So if you're a Fibonacci trader or you're a pullback trader, in that Euro USD, not all the time, but a lot of the time, it'll hit that 50 for trend continuation and continue to the upside. So that's obviously reflecting in the DXY. Now, the reason why I think this is interesting is we've got our potential setup here. So this is not a clean ABC, but it is a complex corrective, because we now have broken through B wave. And yesterday, I was actually looking for a potential setup at this B wave. Obviously, we've not got that. But for me, I'm hoping that this DXY continues to potentially accumulate here, price correction, possibly, maybe give us something like this, a head and shoulders, another reload to potentially take this to the upside. 20 period is down here. I am a dollar bull now. It has changed obviously since this candle, but don't discount that this could happen. We've seen this time and time again, that these things are just not setting up and kind of failing. I mean, that's been really for the past couple of months. I do think in September that might shift a little bit. You could possibly say summer's over. Maybe, depending on COVID, maybe people are coming back from holiday. But, normally summer isn't great anyway. But I think, if we get something like this, I'm happy to take that DXY to the upside because the setup is quite nice. So I'm a dollar bull. I think we're in correction phase now. If this does push on, right, obviously we can't take it, but from the daily perspective, you've got to be thinking that dollar looks strong, right? And you've got to go with that. We've failed at this support area. We failed roughly around that 20. We've got that quasi morning star here, and we are pushing on. So dollar looks decent to the upside. Again, this smaller time frames look good at the moment. And yeah, you've got to be thinking, if you've got a setup in the dollar, maybe tomorrow, end of the week, wouldn't be a bad shout. And I do have one setup potentially in that USD SEC, which I'll go into as well. Anyway, DXY. So SPX, had a bearish day yesterday. From the daily perspective, this doesn't look too bad, right? We're still in an uptrend. We've kind of corrected to roughly that 20. Now, the difference within this bar, where we corrected to that 20 and this price action was actually quite nice, in this bar is obviously the first thing. This is a bearish bar. This is a bullish bar. This has also come on a little bit of volume. Right, so one of the options here with the SPX is that it could be correcting back to the 20 and we continue to the upside as we've done for quite some time. Right, that's what the daily chart is telling us. The other option there is obviously we've got a bearish engulfer. We could be heading for some downward movement. And I think that has to be, I think that is my bias for maybe the rest of the week. We've got quite a significant impulse to the downside. We have, although got some support at this area, but it looks as to be on these smaller time frames that bullish momentum is kind of coming to an end, right? You can it's not really an ABC, it's not very nice, but it looks to be that these potential bulls are losing momentum and now sellers are taking over. We talk about fundamentals, stuff in Afghanistan, etc., maybe weighing on the market, Delta variant, COVID, etc., maybe still weighing in on that market. And I think if you get set up in those risk-off pairs, I understand that, Ahmed. Yeah, I do understand that. The FOMC, people are waiting for the FOMC, but I do believe the technicals give us an indication as well on what the market is doing. So, right now for me, regardless of what is happening tonight, the technicals still paint a picture. And I also believe the technicals do give you an indication of what is potentially coming up tonight. Not all the time, but some of the time. So yeah, for me, it's kind of looking bearish. Intraday potential to the downside. We've crossed over those moving averages. Just price action doesn't look great though, does it? I know it hasn't done in the future, but I know there's news. I know the FOMC is coming out, but intraday until then, the technicals look bearish, and I'll continue to go with that until I see otherwise. So if you get if a FOMC pushes this market, and you get a potential hammer here or something that indicates that this is over, right? Maybe this turns into a complex, then yeah, okay. But you got to get that indication first. So I'd rather wait for that news to come out and see what the market says rather than, predicting, reactionary rather than predicting for the SPX. Because remember, Ahmed, I'm a technical trader, so that's kind of what I base my decisions on. What I'm seeing right now. Obviously, some people use the fundamentals. I have a little bit of. I am aware of the fundamentals. I'm aware of news coming out, but only thing that affects is when I'm taking a trade. So I just won't take a trade half an hour before or half an hour after, just letting that market settle. But for me right now, SPX doesn't look great. Okay, setup. So I've got that DXY set up, and I'm looking at this USD SEK as well. So USD SEK is a pair that I really like. The setup here is nice. Again, very similar to the DXY. A nicer complex corrective. ABC. Back to that 200. Push through. It's not a breakout because we need a little bit more accumulation here. If I zoom in, we need a little bit more accumulation here for a breakout. We've not got that. We've got that strong push through, which is okay. So now we're waiting for that retest to occur. 20 period to catch up. We could be in a steady state corrective here, which is good. But retest to that area. Catalyst to tell us what's going to happen. A catalyst on volume, whether that be obviously an engulfer, a hammer, or something like that on that 20 period to take this to the upside. We're going with the trend. The trend is your friend. Price action from here is starting to kind of set itself up quite nicely. Got a cup with handle on the daily, breaking through. We do have a bit of resistance here, but that's okay. I don't mind that because my setup is coming at this section here. So I'm not as worried about this, to be honest with you. But USD SEK to the upside looks not bad. So waiting for a steady state retest here to go long. And finally, WTI. So the FOMC is tonight, right? Wednesday night. It's usually a Wednesday night. FOMC tonight, yeah, at 10 o'clock. I mean, that will have an effect on the market. There's no doubt it will have an effect on the market. But again, like I said, for me, for my brain and how I trade, it's easier just to look at the technicals and go from there. And tomorrow morning, obviously I'm not going to be in the market at 10 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow morning we'll wake up and we'll see where that market goes from then. Oil, I'm looking at potential downside movement. We've got our large basing structure here. We've got our cup with handle confirmed. I don't really like this price action right now. Here, we could be potentially getting a complex back to that 20. So what I'm looking for again is that squeeze into the area to take that to the downside. So this is okay. I would like this to kind of neaten up a little bit in order for me to be a bit more interested in it. But the context right now is good. If you do get a breakthrough, you can look for a breakout retest to the downside. But yeah, oil looks quite nice. We've changed trend on this daily. We've gone from a possible corrective here now to a potential trend, or it is confirmed trend change from an uptrend to a downtrend, and setting up quite nicely on this daily chart for shorts. We do have the 200 underneath, but obviously that is a big gap, so that's okay. A few wicks here, again a few hammers here, but if we do break below, that is obviously a good sign. I like to see breaks of hammers, breaks of those wicks, because a lot of stop locations is being taken out. Now with this oil as well, we could get, it doesn't have to be a complex corrective, but it could be just a simple squeeze or accumulation prior to the level. I'd like to see this area tagged again. The reason why I like to see this area tagged again is because on this 4-hour bar, we've had a decent reaction. Okay, so we're kind of wanting, you know, we've had a reaction here, obviously a big reaction here. The reactions are getting smaller. So if you can get a tag where you know, again, our squeeze in is continuing to happen, that is a good sign for me. So take a breakout there, stops underneath the previous swing to take oil to the downside. And I like that, to be honest with you. So I'm thinking if that does happen, for me personally, I might start my new 200. But, you know, I'm just waiting a little bit. I'm waiting before I see a bit more confidence in the markets. You know, I don't want to speak too soon and say, you know, this is better, because we've thought that it's going to become better, and then it ends up, you know, getting back to that shitty conditions like this, impulse moves, no real follow through. So I'm waiting to see a little bit more fluidity before I start that 200 grand, just to be a little bit smarter with it, and hopefully third time lucky. And that's it from me. That's all. I mean, I'm still in this pound New Zealand from ages ago. So I'm in this pound New Zealand probably about 3 weeks now on this candle here on my actual funded account, not on this one because it was my challenge. So on this candle here, so I've been through all this section here, and I'm still in it. So pound New Zealand, I'm still looking upside. All right, everybody, that's it from me. If you want me to look at anything, let me know now. A bit of a shorter one again. It's not just slim pickings, only 3 pairs on my watch list. But like I said, we're in this game for a long time. We're not in it for 2-3 months. We want to be trading 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And you don't want to mess everything up on a quiet summer. So I'm happy just sitting on my bum. Euro pound. I had Euro pound on my watch list yesterday, Lamb. Euro pound. So I like this. As I said, I did have it on yesterday. I like that. I was looking for a breakout retest. It didn't give us it. So it's looking a bit skeptical for me to the upside. You know, we look at it on a 4-hour chart. Okay, you could be getting into this back to that 20, which if it breaks out, it looks good. But it still has that 200 above. You know, the daily chart is still, although it has crossed above that 20, right, it's still bearish. And for me, when the euro is on a downtrend, selling into any decent spikes in that euro for me makes sense. So I would just be a little bit skeptical of euro pound to the upside. I don't know which direction you're looking at, Lamb, but I don't really particularly like the chart. You know, it looked good here, like I said, and now it's kind of shifted a little bit. Obviously a big bearish 1-hour bar here. You get a break underneath this area, we could see this come back down. Or, you know, we come up to that 4-hour 200 and then see what the market wants to do. If it does break and close above that, then yeah, it might look good for upward movement, but we've got a lot of obstacles there to the upside. You know, we've got another resistance zone here that the market will react to. There's no doubt it looks okay here, but I would just be a bit wary about it, to be honest with you. On Euro Pound, what do you think of USD JPY? On the 1-hour, USD JPY. On the 1-hour chart, USD JPY. Well, let's start. We'll start from the daily, because that's probably your best place to start. We've got to move our level here. You know, we're getting the reaction. The new level is probably here. We're waiting. We're really focusing on recent price action when you take your levels, because price action probably over here, those levels might not be respected as much now. So we want to be keeping up with the recent trend. So we're getting a reaction off this support area. We've come from a downtrend, right? Possible double top, if you want to call it, triple top even. The bias is to the downside, and you can see that better on the 4-hour chart, right? We moved to the downside here. It looks to be in pullback mode. Now, whether that sustains or not, one of the easiest things you can do is probably you can either take the start of the move, or possibly the breakout zone for your Fibonacci. So if we take it from there, you're approaching that 50% level. We're in this 40-60 box. Right, so you're looking basically for an indication that this wants to continue to the downside. Now, if the SPX does fall, with how the DXY is, you'd expect that to come down because you'd expect the yen to gain some strength. And the US dollar has had a significant amount of strength, but against the yen, you know, obviously that's been the strongest on the basket when this comes down. So my bias for the USD yen, this doesn't look too bad here. Actually, in terms of intraday, my bias is to the downside longer term. But if you're taking it from a shorter term perspective on this hourly chart, that doesn't actually look too bad, you know? That doesn't look too bad. If it does break, you know, it breaks and closes above this area, yeah, you could get a slight push in it. It is counter trend. You have got that 30-minute 200 above price action as well, which you might get a reaction from. Parsa, I'm not a massive fan of it. I don't mind this, but I think you're getting mixed messages, right? I don't know whether you go long or short, but my bias would still at this moment be to the downside. But I wouldn't be buying or selling it now. I'd be waiting for that that indication. So for example, you get to that 50 and you see something like an engulfer or hammer or something like that, then it might be a good time to look at shorts. If you don't get that, you get a push through, then you can probably look at intraday longs. I just don't think it's very nice, Parsa, to be honest with you. Ahmed, I just entered short on Aussie dollar after the retest. Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar. This, I actually looked at this morning. It's risky. Yeah, if you're going to the upside, I'd say it's risky. With how the SPX is, and if the SPX does come down, then yeah, you'd see that UJ come down. But then again, also, Parsa, if you got a setup, then take your setup, because if that doesn't happen, it could be a good entry for the upside for a potential trend change. So yeah. I just entered short. Well, firstly, Ahmed, on the daily chart, the short option is really good for me. Right, this is not enough for a breakout, but that's nice. That's nice price action and a good bearish break here on a bit of volume as well. So certainly bias, yes, to the downside. And you know, you're taking the retest. You're taking the retest on the 4 hour. You've just taken it, or you're in it, or you're not in it, Ahmed? Because I don't think the retest has happened yet. The retest should be here, if you're looking for a retest. Yeah, I mean, I like the bias short. I wouldn't have sold it now. I would probably waited for it to come back up here. But as long as maybe if your stops are above here or here, you've got a decent kind of space to let that run, or let that correct a little bit if it does want to correct a bit more. Because you've got to remember where the DXY is. So the DXY's had a significant push, yeah? So the DXY might do this, in which case this might do this as well. So I don't think the retest has actually happened, but I agree with your bias, right? So something like that. Make sure this retest has been successful, i.e. an indication that it wants to move down. Simple chart pattern on volume, and then I would play it to the downside. So yeah, I agree with your bias to the downside. I wouldn't have sold it yet. In saying that, Ahmed, right, this doesn't look too bad, does it? In saying that, the smaller time frames don't look too bad. So could it go? Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. You'd expect that Aussie to weaken off. Like I said, the US dollar is in corrective mode, but it's still strong. So me saying that doesn't automatically going to mean that it's coming back up. You know, if that wants to gain some strength again, this will come down. But I agree with your short bias, basically. It's far from the MA. All pairs are like this. Yeah, Parsa, it's been a little bit. It's a little bit annoying sometimes, this market, because, for example, for me, let's take a look at this chart, right? Your move started from here. you know, what strategy gets you? As long as your stop's good, Ahmed, then, you know, I agree with it. You know, you're certainly going with the trend. So yeah, it's I wouldn't be buying the Aussie dollar, put it that way. But this is what I mean about these kind of impulse moves that are starting from late, is that, you know, maybe I don't see where the entry is here when the moves happened. You know, I can kind of see an entry here on the breakout, but not really. You know, we go back again. Is your entry up there? Is that enough to get you in off this push? You know, these are where the moves are happening. I mean, there's a little bit different, but you can see what I mean, that it's hard for breakout traders like myself, or breakout retest traders, to get involved in this price action right now. Just because of the choppy nature it's been in, you know, and I think that with the FOMC tonight, it may even continue, you know. So for me, I think September is our month. You know, I think September is our month. Let those big boys all come back on. September, you know, the working kind of starts again. But for me, a lot of these impulses are starting from nowhere, and I don't see, you know, you talk about the fundamental side or whatever, but I think the best way to play this market is to look for, you know, right now, over the past, I mean, I know hindsight is great, but possibly the best way to play this market is fundamentally. You look at a little bit of a wobble in that SPX, and you, even though when the SPX is rising, the yen has still got a decent amount of strength. You know, we talk about the yen being the primary risk-off currency, but as soon as that SPX falls, like we saw the last couple of days, that yen gets massively strong. So there's an argument there. The best kind of trading is possibly fundamentally, where you're seeing like the SPX, which doesn't look nice anyway. I don't like the SPX. I haven't liked it for months. You know, I don't like it rising because it's not correlating to any fluidity. So seeing a possible kind of wobble in that stock market is having a massive implication in the Forex market by increasing the strength of that Swiss and the yen, which is why I think, now this is maybe something in my mind, this might not be, you know, come true or whatever. I just think something's coming. I do. Winter's coming. You know, with how this market is, the last time I saw it was COVID. You know, the couple of months leading up to COVID, it was very strange. So this is why I'm a little bit, until it sorts itself out, that might not happen, but until it sorts itself out, you just kind of have that sneaky feeling that, all right, these assets are known as traditionally risk-off assets. Why? Like, why are they being bid as a stock market is, you know, consistently breaking all-time highs? So that for me is like, meh. So what I'm doing now is I'm having a little fund. I've got a little fund set aside for my kind of crash fund, if that indeed happens or not. We don't know what's going to happen. But if it does happen, then bang, I'm going right into the SPX and putting a little bit more money into it. So that's why I just think it's a little bit strange. Hi, Victoria, how you doing? You've come in at the end. I'm just finished, actually. So, yeah, I mean, I know hindsight is best, but seeing a little wobble, if it continues like that, seeing a little wobble in the stock market, potentially if you go down to and again, I'm not trading this, but it's just kind of something that I've thought of. If you go down to the SPX, right, and you see something like this, right, from a rise like this, then you can say, do you know what? If this does fall, that yen is going to get a lot of strength, right? So selling the Aussie yen at this point in time, AJ, Anthony Joshua, makes sense, right? And you can get some decent rewards out of it. You know, any little wobbles you see have correlated into, you know, decently yen and Swiss strength. So that's why yesterday, I just had that feeling that dollar was going to rise. I just thought, like, something here is not right, and I just have a feeling that that's going to go, and that's kind of what it did. So I'd like to get this. You know, I'd like to get this dollar long, but I just can't buy it right now. I need a bit more digestion, let that 20 catch up in order for me to be able to take that to the upside. So yeah, that's my opinion on the markets. But don't worry if you're struggling, you're not alone. Like I said, I've been doing this for years. And this may be the first month in my 6 years of trading that I've not taken a trade. I've not taken a trade for, you know, it's 18th of August. I'm not taking a trade. Could be the first month ever that happens to me. So let's see. That for me is just the biggest indication of how shit these markets have been. But I don't want to say the market's shit, because then it sounds like I'm making excuses. But for me, it's just kind of how it is sometimes. And like I said, it's not a bad thing not taking a trade. I'm not losing money at the end of the day. So capital protection. Defense is the best offense. Or the opposite of what the saying is, but you know what I mean. You wouldn't just do a day trade. No, I'm not really a scalper. Sometimes whenever I feel like it, Victoria, I'll go into the scalping markets. I don't know. Let's have a little look. But whenever I feel like it, and like, you know, have the urge to say, do you know what, I'm going to go scalp the markets for an hour or two, then I will go in, but not as any real money. Maybe like $100, you know, for my weekend beer, but I'm not a scalper. You know, there's no way. If I'm placing 4K on a trade, I can't handle doing that on a 1 minute chart. It's just not for me. Just not for me at all. Anyway, let's have a little look. Yeah, but I just gone and spent a whole boatload of money upgrading the website, and what else have I done? Upgrading the website. I've just done like a 7-month marketing campaign, so we're doing that as well. So I can't afford to make silly trades, basically. Okay, EURUSD. Let's have a little bit of fun, see if I see anything. EURJPY, nothing there really. I'm kind of looking for the same things, by the way. So for example here, EURJPY. Look what you're getting there. So that could have been, this could be a potential little scalp there for a breakout to the upside. So what I would do on that, because we've got our V reversal, double V reversal, outside bullish engulfer, inside bar, right? And you've got your bullish engulfer on a bit of volume. Remember, if I didn't tell you this is a 1 minute chart, you probably wouldn't know. So as a little scalp, I'd take that to the upside on EURJPY. 1 minute chart, stops underneath there. $100 again, 50 out of 1-to-1. Let the second part run. Another good trade management that I like for scalping is the SAR. Like, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Like I said, I'm not a scalper. I do it for a little bit of fun, but there's a potential little setup on Euro Yen 1 minute. What else is there? I don't expect, considering I did the scan in the morning, I don't expect to be anything else. Potentially there on Aussie Yen. Well, that's the thing as well, Parsa, is that, and that's why it's you know, you've got to have quick thinking. But when I go in, I kind of enjoy it. But it is fast, you know, it is fast. But you can get some decent, like, I'm actually okay. I'm not gonna tap myself on the back, but I'm actually okay scalper. I just know my psychology couldn't handle it. You know, I like to take my time with stuff. I like to, you know, take an hour in the morning, do my morning scan, put my music on, you know, look through all the different time frames, look through the possibility that should this be a short trade, what's the opposite effect, what's the, like for example, oil, what's the arguments for this not being a short trade, and what's the arguments for it being a long trade, you know? So the arguments for it being a long trade is those kind of daily hammer candles. What's the argument to be a short? Okay, the setup is there. You know, I like taking my time with things and making sure I'm giving myself the highest probability, because more often than not these last 2 months, but more often than not, I've got a higher than 50% win rate. You know, in May, I won 8 out of 9, and that doesn't happen often, but, you know, normally I like to win more trades. So Aussie Yen, Aussie Yen similar there. Getting a nice little accumulation. Notice the accumulation is coming on lowering volume. So a breakout there would be not too bad. Breakout, close underneath that 200, negate these kind of hammers on the 15 minute. That's not too bad. So those are the things I kind of look for. Again, something very similar. Normally my trading time frame is the 1 minute, but I also have a trading time frame on the 5 minute. Use this 15 minute for context and just see what I get. So let me see that Euro Yen, because that was probably my favorite of the bunch. See now, so for example, now with Euro Yen, you can't take that. I couldn't take that because I want to see rising pressure, right? So this would have to reset up for me now. So this has got to be gone. Day trading can be stressful. Oh yeah, that is definitely true, Victoria. I prefer trading the daily charts. Yeah, I think the daily charts is is a good place to start. You know, personally, I really like my breakout retest strategy. You know, I really like trading that, and it's got a high win rate. You know, I think the last 3 breakout retests that I've taken that I can remember, because they are quite selective in there, they're hard to come by, have all been winners. So normally when I see a breakout retest, I think great, which comes on the 30-minute, 1-hour charts. But, you know, in breakouts, I really like the 4-hour. I just think the daily, I don't get many trades. So I've kind of got to go down in time frames and to find that setup. So I think for me, again, it all depends on your personality, right? For me, because I'm doing it full time, I'm here in the office full time, you know, daily's a bit slow for me. But yeah, if I could get more setups on that 30-minute, 1-hour breakout retest, then I would love it. But, you know, reality is different. We can't get everything we want. And I do enjoy the 4-hour breakouts. What's Bitcoin doing? Actually, let's have a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you've had your potential impulse, potential momentum, and then harder reset. Maybe this is gearing up for another push in the digital gold. So Bitcoin, as I said, I bought some more at 35k as my retirement fund, basically. I want to buy a Ferrari with it. Or actually, that's not really Bitcoin, that's more Ripple. But I did buy a little bit of Bitcoin at 35k. Do you guys hold? I know Rohan held some crypto. I don't know if you guys held some crypto. Also, before I go, I've kind of dragged on a little bit there. But before I go, A1 Trading are doing like I think it's like a ticketed online event with I think 5 different traders, one of them being Nick and a few others, where we do like a 30-minute presentation on each subject. Typically they've asked me to do trading psychology, probably because I bang on about my story and everything all the time, but they've asked me to do trading psychology. So we're doing 30-minute presentations, and then there's like small groups where you can ask questions and we can kind of go into your trading or things that you're really struggling with that's, you know, depending about you and the small people in the group. So if you're interested in that, head over to A1 Trading. I think there's more details on it. But if not, I'll love you and leave you. I appreciate you coming. And I'll see you all on Friday. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Take care. Peace.